Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been following her emotional journey.
Yeah.
And it's been, well,
Intense.
it's been intense. That's one word for it.
Yeah, it's had its ups and downs for sure.
It has. And I think what really stood out, at least for me, and I know for a lot of you listening too, was that unexpected connection with Alex.
Yeah.
Or French boy, as she called him. And, it's funny because it really felt like
a turning point.
a turning point, exactly.
Yeah.
Like something big was about to happen.
You could just sense it, right?
Absolutely. What happened next?
What was the impact of this?
Exactly. And how did this connection with Alex really propel Fanny into this new chapter?
Well, and we know from the last deep dive, it was a pretty surprising one.
It was a huge shift, yeah.
So today we're going to dive deeper into that.
Yeah, okay.
Using Fanny's own reflections on these events as our main source, and really try to understand the catalyst for this dramatic life change.
Love it. So let's unpack this connection with Alex a bit. It wasn't just a fleeting encounter, was it?
No, definitely not. It sounds like there's something genuinely meaningful developing there.
Okay, so walk us through that. What did their interactions look like?
Well, she describes this connection growing stronger week after week, this mutual seeking out after each game.
Interesting.
And what I find really interesting is the emphasis she puts on the nonverbal understanding.
Ah, interesting.
Especially given the language barrier.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what kind of connection she was really yearning for at that time.
Right, because you would think if you can't even speak the same language.
Exactly.
How do you build
that connection?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think that signified for her, that nonverbal piece, given what she'd been through?
Well, I think it suggests she was craving a deeper, a more intuitive connection.
Okay.
Something beyond just superficial conversation. And, perhaps her previous relationship with Chris lacked that unspoken understanding.
Yeah.
And this new connection with Alex, it offered a glimpse of something different.
Right.
Something that resonated on a more fundamental level,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we get to the last night.
Yes.
She writes that their slowly built connection just had to manifest into fireworks.
Yeah,
That's intense.
It is intense. And what follows is, well, quite remarkable.
Okay. What happens?
She's very explicit about the fact that she felt absolutely no regret.
Wow.
And was completely upfront with her boyfriend, Chris, about what had transpired.
Huh. And how did Chris react to that?
Well, that's also a key piece of this. Chris immediately recognized that their relationship was over. Which suggests that he also sensed that something profound had shifted.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a fling. It was something more.
It makes you wonder, right, if maybe the relationship with Chris was already sort of, maybe nearing its end, and this...
It's just accelerated thing.
Yeah, this was the catalyst.
It's possible.
And then the breakup itself, it seems to have affected her differently.
Very different.
Than past breakups.
Right. She mentions how previous breakups would leave her heartbroken for extended periods.
Right.
But this time, it was different.
Yeah, what was different this time?
Her focus. It was completely different. She wasn't caught up in the loss of this 5-year relationship.
Interesting.
Instead, her energy was directed forward towards what she felt she was working toward.
Wow, so it was almost like a
release.
A release, yeah, like a weight off her shoulders.
Exactly.
Interesting. So we have this intense, albeit brief, connection with Alex.
Yeah.
A breakup that almost feels like a relief.
Right.
And then we get to what she calls the plot twist.
Yes. The introduction to Alex's sister, Laura.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting.
It really does take an interesting turn.
All right, so set the scene for us. What exactly happened with Laura?
Okay, so Fanny was clearly captivated by Alex.
Yeah.
She describes herself as smitten. But what she emphasizes
Okay.
is that the real significance of knowing Alex wasn't about their romantic potential, but rather about who he was about to introduce her to.
Okay, so it was almost like a
stepping stone.
Yeah, a stepping stone to something else.
And so Alex suggests an online meeting with his sister, Laura, because he had this strong feeling that they would connect well.
Oh, interesting.
This is a pivotal moment, I think.
It is, and Fanny even describes having this, like, premonition about this meeting with Laura, this feeling that something significant was about to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny how often those intuitive feelings are spot on.
I know, right? Like you just get this sense and then
it happens.
It happens.
It's amazing.
So do we get any sense of why she felt so strongly about this meeting beforehand?
It's hard to say definitively.
Right.
But perhaps it was this combination of the intense connection she had with Alex and his confidence that she and Lara would also connect.
Yeah, maybe she was picking up on his energy.
Possibly. And also, she was at this point in her life where she was more open to these kinds of unexpected connections.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And their potential,
Absolutely. And, it seems her intuition was spot on.
It was.
The meeting with Lara, like she said, a turning point.
She describes her as so strange and yet so perfect.
It's such a great way to put it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you think made that initial connection so powerful?
I think that phrase, strange and yet so perfect, really sums it up.
Yeah.
Lara possessed these qualities that were maybe unconventional, but resonated so deeply with Fanny.
Okay.
It hints at a connection that went beyond just superficial similarity.
Right.
And tapped into something much more fundamental.
And their conversation that they just clicked.
Yeah, they talked for hours.
Wow.
Hours. To the point where Alex eventually just left the room.
Wow. That says a lot.
It does, right? I mean, that speaks volumes about the connection they were forging.
Absolutely. And it's out of this connection that this rather, unexpected idea emerges, right?
It does.
So tell me about that.
So Lara mentions that she's going to be in Lisbon at the end of the summer.
Okay.
And suddenly Fanny has this light bulb moment.
A light bulb?
Yeah. Like an idea just pops into her head.
Okay. What was the idea?
She decides she's going to hitchhike to Lisbon.
To Lisbon? From where?
From Budapest.
Oh, wow. That's quite a journey.
It is. And keep in mind, her work situation allowed for some time off.
Okay.
So it was almost like the stars aligned and this impulsive decision to hitchhike all the way from Budapest to Lisbon was born.
Wow. Hitchhiking. It's not exactly
common these days.
No, not at all. I mean, what was the reaction she got when she told people?
Oh, she says the typical reaction was fear.
Oh, yeah.
Concern.
Yeah.
Are you crazy?
Right. It's dangerous out there.
Exactly.
But her perspective was so different.
Very different.
So how did she see it?
She actively rejected that idea that the world is inherently dangerous and that people are mostly bad.
Interesting.
And I think her own difficult experiences in the past had actually strengthened her resolve to seek out the positive, to experience the good in the world.
Okay, I see.
So this hitchhiking plan, it wasn't just a random act of rebellion.
Right.
It was deeply connected to this desire for a different kind of interaction with the world.
She talks about wanting to create a life she actually wanted to live.
Exactly.
And shifting her focus away from potential negative outcomes.
To the much larger possibility of it going right.
I love that. It's such a powerful reframe.
It is, isn't it? And she emphasizes that this wasn't a carefully calculated decision.
Okay.
It was driven by this strong gut feeling.
Interesting.
This calling for adventure, maybe even a need to break free from her current circumstances.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
Like being stuck and needing to just
shake things up.
Shake things up, yeah.
And while others might have been paralyzed by the fear of the unknown, she felt this nervous excitement about the possibilities that were out there.
It's like she was actively trying to
transform fear into anticipation.
Exactly. I love that.
And she talks about how her past life
was
so heavily influenced by these external pressures.
Right.
Social expectations, fear of judgment, prioritizing others' needs over her own.
Right. People pleasing.
Exactly. And she felt like she was finally taking control.
Like she had nothing to lose.
Exactly. And that list she gives of what she felt she lacked at the time.
Which was?
No boyfriend, no kids, no firm plans for the future, no passion.
Wow.
It paints this picture of someone feeling a profound sense of emptiness and a yearning for change. So this act of giving everything up, it was the first step towards her own healing.
And I imagine the reactions from her friends and family were...
Oh, a mixed bag, I'm sure.
I can only imagine.
But she has a really insightful perspective on this.
Yeah, what's that?
She talks about how everyone has their own version of truth and how futile it is to try to convince others
that your way is the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so true.
She uses this analogy of two people locked in their own perspectives without being open to the other person's viewpoint.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's so common, and she realized that other people's warnings were often rooted in their own fears and beliefs about the world.
Right. Their own baggage.
Exactly.
So it wasn't necessarily about her reality.
Not at all. And she even talks about being familiar with the toxicity of fear and consciously deciding to not let it control her choices anymore.
So it was like a conscious uncoupling from fear.
Absolutely. A real turning point in her mindset.
I love that.
And she pinpoints 2015 as the year she truly started living on her own terms.
Wow, so this was a big year for her.
This is a huge year for her.
And her responses to people's questions about her fear?
Oh.
They were so telling.
Like what?
Things like, certainty is an illusion, or this isn't the first time I've chosen the unknown, or even just simply saying no.
Yeah, such simple yet powerful responses.
It really demonstrates this new,
inner strength.
Yes, inner strength and resolve.
Totally.
So this hitchhiking trip,
yeah,
it wasn't just about adventure.
Yeah.
It was about something much deeper.
It was the next step in her recovery.
Okay.
A deliberate move towards personal evolution, as she calls it.
So China was one step.
China was one step, but this was a more focused stage.
More intentional.
Much more. And the specific goal, evolution.
And to really commit to this plan,
yeah,
she made it public.
She did. She announced it on Facebook.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and even created a page to share updates.
That's a big step.
It was. She called it her insurance policy.
So she couldn't back out.
Exactly. A way to prevent herself from chickening out.
I could see that.
By making it public, she increased the pressure to actually go through with it.
Smart.
She even admits that she might have changed her mind otherwise.
Really?
Yeah, she wasn't 100% sure.
Wow. So then in mid-August 2015...
This is it, the start of the journey.
She sets off, just a small backpack.
Just the essentials.
Her mother drives her to a petrol station by the highway.
And that's where it begins.
And the goal she set for herself.
Ambitious.
So ambitious. Remind me, what was it again?
She wanted to hitchhike 3,000 to 3,500 kilometers.
That's what, 1,800 to 2,200 miles?
Yeah, something like that.
In 4 days.
From Budapest to Lisbon in 4 days.
That's incredible.
An audacious goal, for sure.
So that's where we're going to pick up in our next deep dive.
Yes.
We're going to follow Fanny on those first few days.
Her initial experiences on the road.
Moving for the backstory.
To the adventure itself.
I can't wait.
It's going to be fascinating.
So for our listeners who are just tuning in or maybe haven't followed every single deep dive, Fanny's connection with Alex, it really was a turning point.
It led to a breakup that actually felt liberating for her.
Then she meets Laura, and they form this incredible bond. And it's this connection that leads to this seemingly impulsive,
deeply motivated
decision to hitchhike across Europe.
A way to confront her fears.
And embrace a new chapter.
Exactly.
And you, our listener, were really keen to understand this pivotal decision.
And we hope this deep dive has given you that insight
into this transformative moment.
Now, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay, what's that?
Think about a time in your own life when an unexpected connection or a decision that might have seemed impulsive to others dramatically changed your path.
Okay.
What fears did you have to overcome?
Yeah.
What possibilities emerged as a result of taking that leap into the unknown?
It's often in those moments that we truly discover what we're capable of.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. All right, well, that's it for this deep dive.
Until next time.
We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.